Hello everyone, happy learning. In this video, we are going to explore how our minds work and how we can think in smarter, more creative, and more reflective ways. We think all the time, but we rarely stop to think about how we think. By understanding our thinking pathways, we can solve problems better, learn faster, and even improve how we make decisions in daily life. So, here our goal is simple to explore the main types of thinking. We have logical thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, reflective thinking, and intuitive thinking. And we will discuss how we can use each one in our life. Now, let's take a simple everyday situation packing for a trip. You may not be aware of it, but you are using different types of thinking when you are deciding what to bring. So here we have simple situation. You are going for a weekend trip and you have to decide what to bring. So here we have this simple situation. Suppose you are packing for a weekend trip and you need to decide what to bring. So first you will check the weather forecast and pack according to the climate. That is logical thinking. And when you think about trying out new outfits and adding something fun to wear, that is creative thinking. When you wonder, did I forget anything important? What if I run out of clothes? That is critical thinking. And you remember what you packed for the trip last year and it worked well. That is reflective thinking. And when you just have a feeling that you should bring an extra jacket, even if the weather is warm, that is intuitive thinking. So here you can see each of these represents a different method of decision making. In logical thinking, we are using facts, reasoning like checking whether to pack right clothes. You think of new ideas like thinking about refreshing outfits that you never tried before. And when you are thinking about the past and what worked well, like remembering what you packed last time, it is reflective thinking. And when you trust your gut feeling, like bringing an extra jacket just because you feel you might need it, that is intuitive thinking. So as you can see, even in everyday situation like packing for a trip, we use different ways of thinking: logical, creative, critical, reflective, and intuitive to make decisions and solve problems. So we are using different types of thinking to make everyday decisions and solve our problems. In education, philosophy, psychology, or even creativity, the term pathways to thinking can indicate multiple things depending on the surrounding. As you can see, even in everyday situations like packing for a trip, we use different ways of thinking: logical, creative, critical, reflective, and intuitive to make decisions. So, we are using here different ways of thinking to make decisions and solve problems. In education, philosophy, psychology, or even creativity, the term pathways to thinking can indicate multiple things depending on the surrounding. Pathways to thinking represent the strategies and processes that our mind uses to process information, make decisions, and solve problems. First, we have analytical thinking. This is when you think step by step and use logic to solve a problem. For example, first we have analytical thinking. This is when you think step by step and use logic to solve a problem. For example, if you're solving a math problem, we follow clear order of steps to get the answer. So we are thinking step by step and using logic to solve this problem. Second, we have creative thinking. This is when you think in new and different ways, often breaking the usual rules. For example, when you come up with a new idea for a school project, like mixing two subjects together in a fun way. So here we are using creative thinking. Next, we have critical thinking. This is when you look at the information carefully and ask questions about it. You think about whether something is true or not and if it makes sense. For example, you read a news article, you ask yourself, is this really true or does this make any sense? So here we are using critical thinking. Next, we have reflective thinking. This is when you think about your own thinking. So, in reflective thinking, we think about our own thinking. You look back at what you did or how you felt, think about it. For example, after a test, you think what worked well for me and what could I have done better. And the last one we have intuitive thinking. This is when you make decisions quickly based on your gut feeling and experiences. So here we are making quick decisions without overthinking, and we are using our gut feeling and experiences to make the decisions. For example, you are meeting a group of people for the first time. Everyone is friendly, but one person make you feel uncomfortable. You are not sure why. You just sense something is off even without proof. That is intuitive thinking, using your inner feeling to sense something without needing a proof. So, first we have analytical thinking where we are using logic and step by step we are solving any problem. Second, we have creative thinking when we are thinking in new and different ways and breaking the usual rules. Next, we have critical thinking. In critical thinking, we will look at the information carefully and we will ask question about it. In reflective thinking, we are thinking about our own thinking, like what we did in past. Then we have intuitive thinking. Here, without any overthinking, we are making quick decisions based on our gut feeling. Next, we have visual thinking routine. Students can slow down, observe carefully, and think deeply with the support of these easy to use tools. That is, see, think, wonder, claim, sport, question. In C, what you notice. For example, here you can see in this picture what you notice, like we have here people, car. Second, think. Now think what do you think is going on. So in this picture, now think what is going on. Third, wonder. What are you curious about? Claim, what do you believe or think? Sport, what evidence do you have? Question, what question do you still have? Next, we have Bloom's taxonomy. This is a framework that shows different levels of thinking from starting from the basic to advanced. So we have level 1, remember. It simple means recall facts. For example, on a lesson about plants, list part of a plant. Second level we have here understand, and its simple meaning explain ideas. Now you have to explain how plants make food. Third level we have here apply, that means use knowledge. Now we will use knowledge, so here use what you know to grow a plant. Next level we have analyze, it means break into parts. Now we will compare roots and stems. So now we break down the problem into parts. We can perform the comparison. Next level we have evaluate. Now we will make the judgment. For example, which plants grows best indoors. Last level we have create. That means making something new. For example, you can design your own mini garden. So here you can see level 1. Remember, where we will recall the facts. Next level, understand. Here we will explain the ideas. Then we will apply the knowledge. Next, we will analyze. Now we will break down the problem into parts and then evaluate. Now we will make the judgment. And last, we will create something new. So goal is here move from just knowing something to creating and applying it in real life. So here you can see goal is clear. We have to move from just knowing something to create and apply it in real life. Now let's try to understand these concepts with simple examples so they make sense to everyone, from everyday life to neuroscience and philosophy. Neural pathways are like roads in your brain. Every time you think or do something, you create a pathway. So if you repeat an action, that pathway becomes stronger, like a well-worn road. For example, if you practice playing piano every day, your brain builds up the neural pathways that control your fingers and musical understanding. So playing becomes simpler after some time, just like walking a well-known road. Next, we have neuroplasticity, means your brain can rewrite itself when you learn something new or practice something new. It adapts and change based on what you do regularly. For example, if you are learning new language at first, it feels difficult, but with practice your brain create new pathways to help you remember words and understand grammar. Over time, speaking the language feels more natural.